What's up, my people? Matt Van Pelt, president of Van Pelt Sports Management, founder of Handle by Peasy here. Today I want to talk about 4 things that we are teaching in youth basketball that I think is counterproductive and I think we should not be teaching in youth basketball. When I say youth basketball, right now I'm primarily speaking about middle school age students, around that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade young basketball players. This does not apply to elementary school players or people who are just picking up a ball for the first time. What I'm talking about right now is for players who have played a little bit of basketball and have a good understanding of your basic fundamental skills. But there's a few things that we're teaching these age basketball players that I think we shouldn't be teaching. And the first is to follow your shot. You always hear coaches telling their players to follow their shot, follow their shot. And if you're in the post or you missed a layup, I think that's perfectly fine, and they should follow their shot. If they're that in close, maybe get an opportunity for a second chance points after a rebound or a tip. But if you're on the perimeter, let's say top of the key, and the player shoots a shot, that player should be the safety. They should be getting back to protect the rim. And if we have them going to follow their shot, that leaves their team very vulnerable to long rebounds and then outlet passes and layup drill on the other end, especially on the wings or the top of the key. So I think it's very counterproductive if we're telling our player to run after their shot and not making them think one play in advance about, after I shoot this shot, I have to go to defense, I have to protect the basket, I'm our team's safety. Because as you get into higher basketball, teams are faster, teams leak out quicker, teams catch outlet passes deeper and get up the floor faster, which means after you shoot, you have to get back faster on defense. You have to have a safety. Most college teams, high school teams start to teach having a safety, definitely in the pros as well. So if we're not teaching them at the youth level, are we really doing the right thing there? Of course, the player who shoots the ball probably knows where their rebound is going to go. If they miss, they probably know if it's going right or left, long or short, more than anybody else would. So I think there's special situations where if they know they missed and they see an opening there to get the rebound because they know where it's going, then that could be a possible situation where they should follow their shot. But in most cases, I think they should not follow their shot and they should get back on defense, because ultimately preventing the other team from scoring buckets will win you games. And I think we need to teach about being a safety after you shoot. So I think coaches, we need to tone back the mentality that we need to teach players to follow their shots all the time. A second thing I think we need to tone back on is making our players always make 2-hand passes. I hear that so much. Make a 2-hand pass. And when you're young, like I said, elementary school players, first, second, third, fourth graders, I would say, you have to be able to teach that basic 2-hand chest pass and 2-hand bounce pass. I get that that's the foundation, as it should be, and that's what you have to start with. But there's a lot less angles passing here than there are from passing here, here, wrapping it wide, here, here. And it takes away from a lot of opportunities to be successful in passing the ball. It takes away a lot of our angles if we think that we can only pass with 2 hands. It takes away from just our overall collection of opportunities, because if we can get the ball up here and snap a pass up by our pocket, our shoulder, and snap a pass with one hand, you can do so much more with the basketball. You can create so many more opportunities for your teammates. And I think that basketball is developing and evolving faster than it ever has. We're seeing more skilled players in Europe, even in America now in the NBA, who are able to make all types of dribble moves, pass moves, different types of shots. But important to that is just the overall creativity they're allowed to have on the court. They know they don't have to make a 2-hand chest pass or a 2-hand bounce pass every time. They can create their own angles, and they're kind of showing us that anything is possible. Steve Nash was the perfect example. Anything is possible for a passer. Obviously, that comes with limits to it, but anything is possible if you can visualize it and if you have the angle and you see the pass But if you see the pass, but you know your coach is making you only make two-hand passes, it takes away so many opportunities. So I think we need to, instead of forcing our players to make two-hand passes, we need to teach them to have enough confidence in themselves to make one-hand passes from any angle. And we need to practice that in skill work. Passing is one of the most under-practiced skills individually. You do a lot of team passing drills, but individually we don't get that too much, people working on their passing like they do on their shooting or their ball handling. And I think youth basketball, middle school, high school basketball needs to practice their passing from all angles more. So I think we need to push away from that two-hand pass, which obviously always has its purpose, and there's always a good time to make a two-hand pass. But like I said, this has a lot less angles than up here, down here, wrapping around, underhand bounce passes, low, lobs over the top, one hand, everything you can think of. And so we need to practice it with our kids and let them develop quicker, because if we make them only make two-hand passes, that just slows down their progression, in my opinion. The third thing is calling ball. Often coaches tell their kids to call for the ball when they're popping out for a shot, curling for a layup, backdooring, anything of that nature. And I remember I did this. I was practicing for a Drew League team. I was working out with CABC in California, Clay Thompson's team. And I remember my coach yelled at me for calling for ball. And that stuck with me ever since. He said, "You think Clay Thompson's not going to know if you're open or not? The person with the ball sees the help side. They see the whole court. Just because you're popping out, you don't see what's happening behind you. So if you're calling for ball, it might make somebody throw you the ball even if you're not open." So I think allowing the point guard or whoever has the basketball, who can scan the whole floor and see what's happening behind the player who's cutting for a shot, letting them make that pass. I think that enables them to be able to make right decisions. And I think if a player is calling for ball, you've basically made that decision for the guy with the ball. They feel like they have to pass it to you if you keep calling for it. As a general rule, obviously that's not always the case, but it's happened so many times where a player cuts, he's not open, he calls for ball, somebody throws it, especially in youth basketball. So I think we need to get away from calling for ball unless it's for communication. I understand that. If you have a quiet team, you want them to get talking and practice, calling for ball is a good way just to get simple energy up and help practice communication. But I think allowing the person with the ball to make decisions and scan the court is better than screaming for ball anytime you pop open for a shot. And lastly, my fourth thing is the idea that we have to finish with our right hand and right knee up on the right side for a layup, and left hand, left knee up on the left side for a layup. Because like I said earlier, basketball is progressing and evolving very quickly, and you see these guys doing all types of different finishes. They all have their own time and purpose, and I think the sooner we can teach kids to be able to jump off the right foot on the right side, go same hand, same foot finishes, go inside hand finishes, finishing outside your body, using either hand on either side, I think that will just help them blossom earlier than they would if they had to go right, left, up on the right side. Again, even middle school age, I think they have to be able to visualize and think creatively and see opportunities for when and why they would want to finish with either hand, as opposed to just using their right on the right side and just using their left on the left side. Obviously, for young kids, it's good to start that foundation again. If you're just picking up a basketball, you have to teach right, left, up for a layup. But at middle school and high school levels, definitely college and pro levels, you're teaching every type of finish there is. So I think the middle schoolers need to be able to start learning that sooner than later, especially if they're not super athletic, because they need to finish in different ways to catch up with those who are more athletic than them. They need to be so skilled if they're not athletic, and they have to be able to shoot, dribble, and finish and pass, but finishing especially off any different angle, and that's very important. So I think we need to tone back the right, left, up with middle school age kids. Allow them to visualize, to see, to understand why they would finish with the left hand on the right side, with the right hand on the left side. So those are just a few things that we're coaching in youth basketball that I personally think we should not be coaching. I'm open to feedback on that, criticism on that, other ideas, other opinions on that, but those are just my opinions. Feel free to give me some feedback on what you think about that.